Hey guys, this is Ray the Messenger. In today's video I'm going to talk to you about how you can get out of a negative environment. Now let's get right into the video. So the first thing that you have to realize is when you're inside of a negative environment, that negative environment will control your whole actions. You will become part of that negative environment. I will just give you an example. Think about all the places you've been to, and most of the time when you go to a certain city, a lot of the people will look the same. Or when you're in a smaller village, a lot of these people, they look the same, they do the same thing, they talk the same way because there's a certain kind of culture and a certain kind of environment. This goes even back to smaller circles. Let's say there's a friend circle. There's like a study out there. If you look at that study, there's a higher percentage chance if one of your friends is actually overweight that you will be 60% more likely to be overweight. Something like that. Go look it up. There's a study. So that tells you that basically the environment is extremely important. There's also the quote out there where they're like, oh, the 5 people that you surround yourself with, those are the most important people. Those will dictate your future and your destiny. And to a certain part, I agree to that massively, because it's extremely difficult when you're inside of a negative environment to create something positive out of it. Yes, you can actually get a certain kind of success inside of a negative environment. That's what I did back in the day. I tried to get as much success as possible while being inside of that negative environment. But the reality is, if you're inside of that negative environment, you need to get the hell out of there. That's the best way you can do. That's the best thing you can do in life, because when you're inside of the negative environment, you're fighting the forces that are outside of yourself. You're fighting people who want to take you down, not necessarily consciously, but subconsciously. They want to put you on their level, and that's also human nature. Because when I know you a certain kind of way, I want to keep you a certain kind of way, because that's the way you've always been, and that's how I know you. So I will project that reality that I have of yourself, or the image that I have of you, I will project it upon you, and that's oftentimes subconsciously. And this is extremely uncomfortable if you're a certain person that is growing. So if I'm out there, let's say, I'll just give you an easy example so you can actually understand this. So let's say I'm losing weight and you're seeing that I'm losing weight, and now all of a sudden you'll be like, why are you losing weight? You should just go with me to McDonald's and we'll just drink some unhealthy drinks, and then you can get back on track. And you will be like, no, I actually want to be healthy. So there's like conflict. This automatically creates a conflict with the other person inside of that environment. And when you have multiple people that are like inside of that environment, most of these people will be the same way. So they will be all overweight, and if you all of a sudden start losing weight and become healthy again, you break out of that system. And oftentimes, unfortunately, people will try to get you back in. There's an example with when you have a like certain kind of bucket, and inside of that bucket there's a bunch of crabs, and one crab tries to go outside, the other crabs will pull it down, because that's a protection mechanism. The people think that if you go outside of that circle, that's going in the end of the day is going to hurt you, because they've been living this certain kind of way of life, so their way has to be the right way and the best way for you also, because you've been there. So that's the only thing you know, that's the only thing they know, and they want to oftentimes stay comfortable. Because here's the reality of things. Listen, if you're listening to this, you're probably in a small exception, a small bunch percentage of people out there who want to change their life, who really want to go out there and develop themselves constantly. Most people, if you look at them, then they go out of high school, for example, maybe out of college, and then at a certain kind of point inside of their lifespan, you see there's a stopping point of their personal development. They just stay the same. It's like I know people that still live in the same city, they're still doing the same things, they're the same person, but there's like 5 years between the last time I saw them and now they're still the same person. What have you been doing for 5 years? You're still the same person. That's crazy to me. You need to develop yourself, because in my opinion, it's a sad reality to live in. You're still the same guy 5 years later. What are you doing? What have you been doing with your life? That's my own perspective. And if you have the same perspective, then you need to, unfortunately, leave these people behind. You need to leave them and let them live their own life, because there's no benefit for you being there when they are trying to do something else inside of their life, and you're out there developing yourself, and then you're just creating unnecessary conflict. And you also, for your mental health, it's not good when you're constantly meeting up with these people and they will start talking shit about you. Listen, this is the reality. If they're not conscious enough inside of their own mind to realize that the things that in their own life are not 100% the way that they should be, then they will project it upon you, and they will try to negatively influence you. And you need to put up energy in order to withstand that pull. So they will start to, like, it's a subconscious pull, and you have to put energy out there in order to distract them from that. So you have to activate it like a weird shield, right? And that costs you massive amounts of energy. And now think about it. If you would take yourself, surgically remove yourself out of that negative environment and put yourself in a new positive environment, on a neutral or even a neutral environment, then you would have like a massive energy bump, because you all of a sudden don't have to subconsciously fight off the negative energies of people trying to put you down, or people starting to project their images. And it's extremely uncomfortable. I will give you an example. So one time, me personally, I've been developing myself for a couple of years now, and I'm always trying to better myself, always changing. But for most of the people that live in the small town that I grew up in, I'm a certain kind of person that they want me to be like. So when one time I was inside of that city visiting, like my parents inside of that city, and I was there in the middle of the city. I went to a store, and inside of the store I just saw some random person that I went to school with. I don't even remember the name of that person, but they looked at me, and I quickly said hello, just to be friendly, just to be nice. And I could feel, when they said hello to me, I could feel their energy projecting upon me. Their energy that they projected upon me was trying to put me in a box, and that was extremely uncomfortable. The box that they had, the mental image that they had of me back in the day, but that wasn't me now. So there was like a disconnect. So it's like two realities starting to clash, and that's extremely uncomfortable. I wanted to get away from the person as fast as possible, because I personally also didn't like them very much. But this is a big example. So people will try to frame you, put their reality upon you, and you need to withstand that. You need to start going out there and creating your own reality. So before you can go out there, out of the negative environment you're maybe inside of right now, you have to ask yourself, what is the goal that I'm having? Where do I want to go? And in which place do I need to go in order to achieve that? So when you're inside of the negative environment and you realize 100% that you need to get out of there, then you need to make an action plan. How can you get out of there, and where do you want to go? So for me personally, what I did back in the day is I tried to find a way to get out there as soon as possible. And most of the time you'll probably need some kind of money or some kind of job in order to go out there, maybe pay rent in another place. Just get the fuck out of there. That's the most important thing. Just take the step. There is no other way. You need to leave the people, unfortunately, behind, most of them. Unless you actually can still talk to some of them, if they're positive, if they also have a nice mindset. But what I did, unfortunately, I had to leave them. I had to leave them where they are. I had to let go and say, you know what? You're going this way inside of your life, and that's fine. But I have to go a different way. So I actually didn't talk to them anymore, and just kind of faded away the contacts. And now I'm on a whole different path. And you will actually realize, as soon as you go quote unquote up on levels, or you go into different levels, then all of a sudden you and the people that you were in at a certain level, you're not really going to have much contact anymore, and you can't really even relate to them at a certain kind of view. So for me, I also have to put myself into different kind of mental space in order to understand some people that are maybe on quote unquote lower levels of their own consciousness and their own development inside of their mind, or their own self-confidence. But the positive thing is also, when you remove yourself out of that environment, that's where the biggest growth opportunities lie. And that's what I found was the quickest way in order to change my own behavior and also my mindset, is removing yourself from negative situations. So I hope this video was helpful for you. If you can take one thing away from this video, is if you realize personally that you are inside of a negative environment, make an action plan how you can get out of there as soon as possible, as fast as possible. I know sometimes it's not realistic to just move out of a certain place or home that you've been in from one day to another, but you should actually have a plan to go out there and execute that plan. That's the most important thing. Don't just spend unnecessary time there. Have a reason. Okay, why do I spend time right here? Because I maybe need to save up some money. Okay, that's a valid argument. Or maybe I need to still find a home at another place that I want to go to, or maybe I need to structure certain things. Yeah, that's a fair argument. But all other arguments, don't waste your time. If you're somewhere you don't want to be, get the fuck out of there as soon as possible. That's my own personal opinion. Don't waste your time. Life is too short for that. So if you liked the video, put a like on it, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.